I'm Reverend James Caldwell. I am the Director and founder of COCO, the Coalition of Community Organizations. We are grateful to have you here this morning. Verizon, they provided some funding to offer some resilience, assistance for resilience to communities in the Houston area. Denver Harbor is one, Fifth Ward is another, City Gas, and Galena Park. Okay, that's where our tour will take place today. We will begin in Denver Harbor. We will go from Denver Harbor to Fifth Ward to City Gas, and finally we'll end at Galena Park, and then we will stop and we will eat. When we say resilience, anybody know what that means? It's just, it's bouncing back from trouble, disaster, issues, whatever it may be. But before you can bounce back from an issue or disaster or what have you, you have to know what is causing the disaster. You have to know the root. The storm comes and then the storm leaves, but when it leaves something behind. Okay, and what has happened is that in the past, it has left our communities with housing issues, with environmental issues, with healthcare issues, all infrastructure issues, you name it. We decided to do a tour to take not just the Denver Harbor community, not just Fifth Ward community, City Gas community, but to go through all the communities. When we talk about illegal dumping just ain't in Denver Harbor. It's in Fifth Ward, it's in Galena Park, it's not that. We want you to see the similarities, that we all have, and how the necessity of having to come together and realize and be able to see that my problem is your problem too. My situation is your situation too, and it's going to take a unified effort in order to do that.
Hello, my name is Shannon Thomas. I wanted to introduce our historian who is going to be kind of our main tour guide today. This is Miss Whitney Brantley. She goes by the dopest historian because she believes that history is dope, and she is going to have some really interesting stories and facts for you guys that's going to supplement everything we're learning today. And we're going to see a lot of the bad parts of Houston because we know some of these communities have a lot of environmental issues and hot spots, but the communities also have a lot of assets and a lot of strengths. And so that's what these worksheets are for today. There's a process called asset mapping where basically you go through and you highlight the assets of the community, the people, the places, the things that are strengths to these communities. And when you put them all together, you come up with a kind of a roadmap for how things can be improved in the future for the communities. So we're going to visit 4 different communities today. The first is Denver Harbor, right where we are. Then we will go to Fifth Ward. Then we will drive through City Gas and then end up in Galena Park. After Galena Park, we are all going to go to lunch. We are going to have the community leaders from these 4 different communities to speak on the bus, as well as the dopest historian who's going to throw in some fun, interesting facts for you all.
My name is Whitney B., better known as the dopest historian, and my brand is Dope It's History. I am very passionate about history. I am a 5th generation Texan, a 3rd generation Houstonian. I was born and raised in Houston, Texas. I've grown and lived among these streets that we'll be driving around. So, as you all know or may not know, the Allen brothers founded Houston, and their main goal was to make money from Houston. They saw the waterways and immediately started to plan the city. So in 1901, we get the oil discovery near Beaumont. In 1914, we get the ship channel expansion. Today, the ship channel goes around about 50 miles. In the 1920s, we start getting our first refineries, industrial growth, and neighborhood development. And in the 1930s is when we get the economic boom, environmental issues, and as well as these Black and brown communities moved into these areas to work for these refineries. Due to segregation, Black and brown laborers were not necessarily allowed to scale up for these in these industries. And so what you see is a lot of the neighborhood are these laborers, while those that own the companies knew not to live in these areas. I'm going to pass the mic now to Rita so she can tell you a little bit more about Denver Harbor. Again, these communities are part of the bigger Houston story. And once you understand the history of Houston, you start to understand these communities that we'll be viewing today.
Denver Harbor, it was a community founded way back in the 1890s. And then it was platted and then replatted in 1911 and 1913. Most of this area is industrial, but it's marked with residential or vice versa, however you want to see it. This is Old Clinton Road. This is what we had before back in the day of Clinton. Right now it looks pretty good. We're surrounded by Union Pacific Railroad tracks, but most of the time this is where illegal dumping is done. We have found anything from just your regular garbage, tires. One time I came across a dead horse. I mean, people will throw anything out here so they don't have to go to the dumps. Right now, like I said, this is kind of clean. Whenever we have any issues, especially myself, I will call 311 and push it to our council member because that is the only way that it'll get done. And if it still doesn't get done, guess what I do? I contact my at-large and the mayor's office. This area back here is Old Clinton Road and it continues to Harris Street, but we're not going that way because it gets really congested. Like I said, they throw everything. I've had to get brand new tires 4 times in less than a year because they would take out and throw glass. But as you can see, we have nothing but different types of companies. We have, this is a laundry. It used to be another name, but it's a laundry. And we have like clothing, like the rags. Whenever you get rid of your clothing, you don't know what to do with it, you don't want to donate it or go through the process of that, you toss it in the trash. Well, it ends up in these companies. They go through it, but a lot of it goes back into the garbage as well. People end up going through the garbage and making a huge mess, and it just starts all over again. So think about the clothing that you use. Instead of buying brand new, go to the resale store. They got some really cool stuff. So this is mostly, like I said, industrial. A lot of these companies have been here for decades. And most of them are good neighbors, but there are some that are not good neighbors. Like I said, rags, the laundry, Union Pacific, that's another whole story right there. But when this community started, it was mostly like European immigrants, like Czechoslovakia, Polish. We're very simple people, you know, like simply hard workers, blue collar mostly people. Most of the people who do your yard or do your laundry or cook your food and that kind of stuff here, your mechanic that works on your car or the nanny that you have in your house will come from this type of area. The median is showing anywhere between 9,000 and 15,000 people live in this neighborhood. And that's because the census hasn't been done yet. We're actually going to have a kind of like a beautification coming up. Hey, Ricky. Where we are working on a grant so that we can beautify it. Some of these owners of businesses have been here for decades as well. Dixie Maid is one of them. And they have pretty good food. If you ever want to go to Dixie Maid, that's a plug. It's off of Market Street. Go straight. You're going to go all the way up to Lyons. We're going to pass in a minute. We're going to have a beautification where we're going to kind of clean up Lyons Avenue from like one intersection of Lathrop through Crest. So we're going to help some businesses there have a beautification, clean up, maybe some painting, put in some shrubs, that sort of thing. And Ricky, we're supposed to be getting a mural? Is that, am I correct?
If you go to Lathrop and Lyons, passing it, we're going to get a mural on that corner.
Cool. We're going to have a mural on the corner of Lathrop and Lyons at the car wash. It's going to be on your left side, across from Popeyes. You can't miss it.
To welcome you to Denver Harbor.
Yeah, to welcome you, bienvenido to Denver Harbor. Now, Denver Harbor, you know, before I-10 was just a very vibrant area, but like we all know, I-10 with the building of that, it kind of killed some communities. Denver Harbor was one of them. Fifth Ward was another. So that's just kind of the thing that they do. Here's the car wash. They're gonna clean it up and put a mural straight, please.
Dixie Maid's right next door.
Yeah, and then there's Dixie Maid right next to it. Yeah, we're gonna paint that sucker. It's gonna be beautiful. And so here we are now. It's more residential on this side. Mostly houses, a few small buildings in between here and there. Pew Elementary, I went there as a pre-K. They also are having some kind of family celebration, yard sale, I don't know, jumpy housing kind of thing. And I lived through this neighborhood many, many years. I grew up here. My parents kind of moved around a lot. They were working from one job to the other. They were in the restaurant business. And I got to live all over on the north side and the south side of Denver Harbor. So like when I used to live here in Brownsville Street, there used to be a store right here on the right called J. Joe's. And I used to walk over here with the dollar and get my mom a pack of cigarettes and candy for myself. Penny candies filled the whole little bag. And I'm like, I'm going to share with my sisters. You know, eating it all up. But that's just kind of the thing it was. Who remembers the penny candies? Yeah, those are awesome. Now what are they, $1.20? $1.89.
Hey, I have a dope history fact that I love for Rita to give more insight into. I heard that there was an Olympic boxer that used to train in Denver Harbor, and there's actually a lot of boxers that will come specifically to Denver Harbor to train.
So here we are on the infamous Wallaceville Road. As you see, to our right is all industrial. Any kind of industrial company you can think of. We have recycling. I don't know what that was because it closed down. But right behind it are the railroad yards of Union Pacific. If you see, it's not just railroads where they come through. I mean, they have everything and anything there that they store and whatnot. And then, of course, south of it is residential. We used to have a lot of beer joints. Y'all remember what those were? Beer joints. Cantinas.
Looks like they're still there.
Bars. Before the sports bars, they're still kind of there.
They call them sports bars now.
Yes, sports
Cantinas back then.
Sports bars for us was seeing who's going to fight who over who. That was sports bars for us. But as you can see, our ever-loving train is blocking us. But okay,
That's the problem.
that is always the problem. We'll just stop for a second here. I think we're going to have to turn right here. So hold on a second. Okay, so I can't tell if they're stopping. It kind of looks like, but this is one of our problems that we have in Denver Harbor because we're industrial and residential. So a lot of the people who live here have been here for generations. They're your great-grandmother, your grandfather, your parents. So help your parents out or your family out by making sure that you keep your home up to date, because most likely they're going to run you out because they're going to put They're gonna put citations on your house because your trash can's in the yard or whatever, and then the taxes are gonna go up and you're not gonna be able to afford it. We have Renee Porras from Porras Rondito Bakery off of Crest and Market. He's doing the petitions for the City of Houston Chapter 42 ordinance, where he's able to save one block at a time. Just so you know, if you have any questions, please let me know. I know I didn't tell you too much, but I did say a little. Yes, sir.
Making a right at the third line.
Denver Harbor, that's kind of a crazy thing, but this was like considered the suburbs of the area, and then there was a rival team. For some reason, they put on the water tower that we had here, and they put Podunk. And Denver Harbor was actually 4 different neighborhoods, and they just combined 2 of them together and got Denver and Harbor.
A lot of African Americans settled in 4th Ward, Freemanstown, and 5th Ward would become a predominantly black area after emancipation. So when Houston founded, there were 4 wards originally. 1st Ward, 2nd Ward, 3rd Ward, 4th Ward. 5th Ward, again, it becomes, it's known with the 4, but it came after the founding of Houston. Some of the things that are memorable of 5th Ward are some of our legends. Mickey Leland, he fought for environmental injustice. He went all the way to the federal level championing for 5th Ward, saying that, you know, these dumping grounds and the freeways and these food deserts are just not right. He fought for civil rights as well. Barbara Jordan is from 5th Ward. Yes. We have Ruth J. Simmons, who's still alive today. She's a living legend. She's from 5th Ward. Ruth J. Simmons is the first black Ivy League president. She was a president at Brown University. She also was the first woman president at Prairie View A&M University. And then after she retired, she became a presidential fellow at Rice University. Again, she's alive, and I do encourage you to look her up. And if you could have a chance to go see her speak in the city, go do so. We are now at the Evergreen Negro Cemetery that was founded by formerly enslaved persons for those who fought in the world wars, as well as those that lived within the community. Back then, the city did not see or did not feel a need to give Black people proper burials, and so those within the community would plat areas and say, you know what, this is going to be ours. We're going to take care of it. Due to the, we just crossed the freeway. Due to the freeway running through the cemetery, there were about 900 displaced bodies from this cemetery. But over time, community members have sought to treat this area better, clean it up. There's a lot of community efforts to get the history out, because once you know the history, you're kind of more inclined to become a part of the solution.
They actually discovered some bodies buried in the median, so they had to close it for a while and replace that. But I don't know of a cemetery anywhere that has an esplanade or a double-lane boulevard between it. So we knew years ago that there were probably bodies in that section there. We had planned on getting out and allowing you all to go by and look around and look at some of the headstones, because it exists on this side and that side as well. It was privately owned by a gentleman, what was his name, Leo? The gentleman that used to own and take care of Evergreen. And now our county commissioner does the upkeep for the cemetery itself.
One thing about Evergreen Cemetery, once Metro actually was working on the Metro next. So they were dealing with the esplanades on Lockwood. So that's how they inadvertently discovered that there were remnants of caskets and some bones and things in that esplanade here. One thing they are doing is they did remove some. That's why it was had the privacy tent around that esplanade. They were trying to remove some of the remnants, and they are going to reinter them. It's supposed to happen this year, so they're going to make some kind of changes here in this esplanade because of that. So I just kind of, and Lisa Jenkins is the conservator, the active conservator, but it was Dr. What we call him Dr. Woody. But Dr. Woody he was the original conservator, and he still is that person, but he's a little bit ill. So Lisa Jenkins is that person. She just had a fundraiser to try to raise funds for the cemetery maybe about 3 weeks ago.
Is anybody aware of the other Black cemetery that was founded during the late 1800s? Anybody? Yes. It is Olivewood Cemetery. Olivewood Cemetery is relative to the 4th Ward, Freedmanstown, and then we have Evergreen right here in 5th Ward. Olivewood is somewhere where I also encourage you to go visit. There's a lot of history there. Again, a lot of enslaved individuals buried, a lot of World War I veterans buried. It's amazing. We're in 2025, and to see headstones where they start before the Civil War, and then they usually pass away, say like 1890 or somewhere around that. As a historian, that dates just always excite me.
One of the issues that we have in the 5th Ward community and other communities is air quality. We have environmental concerns that we are unaware of. Our communities don't know the air that we're breathing, the water that we're drinking, the ground that our children are playing on, and it can present a health issue. But we have to go beyond that and see the bigger picture. It's not just a health issue; it's a housing issue. Okay, it goes beyond there. It's connected. It's an academic issue because it becomes an income inequality issue, a financial issue, for whether or not our parents are able to provide for us as parents are able to provide for our children. To the left here, the church, Mount Corinne, owns this property here. Okay, this property is contaminated. Okay, it is contaminated. The church bought this property. Coke Street Apartments up here was redone about 10 years ago, 10 years ago. The entire complex had to be redone because it was contaminated. These homes you see here were as a result of the community's lack of housing and improper housing. So the city, along with who else was there, provided those housing that you see here. Most of these are residential homes. As you can see, they're old homes. They've been here for quite some time. As we get up to the corner here, the driver will make a left, and you'll see the gentrification process. What gentrification does to a community, it buys out 40, 50, 60-year-old residents in the community. Because what happens is that, make the left here, right? The residents are no longer, the homeowners are no longer able to afford their homes. Because the property taxes has gone to the extreme. When I say you look at the entire picture, look at the big picture. See the impact that it's going to have in and on your community as a whole. And that's what's impacted Fifth Ward. It will also impact Denver Harbor as well.
Yes.
We're going to make a right up here. Across the street from where we make the right is Javits Park. They're renewing it, rebuilding it. It is being built on contaminated ground. This used to be an old warehouse. That ground is contaminated. Where they are working at right there now is contaminated. Rice mill, that's what it was. It was a rice mill. And all of that is contaminated. All of it. We know it. We share it with the community. But our efforts and our fight is not in vain, but it must continue. It must continue. I'm going to share a little bit about the environmental impact and its impact on our community. As I mentioned, we passed Finnegan Park where we have a regulatory monitor there. That is monitored by the state. We're going to go by several other locations along this route here where we have community monitors. Ms. Stevenson has one at her home where she's monitoring, and that's near Union Pacific. We will go, just keep straight ahead. This is Prola Steel. Prola has been here as long as I can remember. I'm 72 years old and they were here when I was a kid. And they have contaminated this entire community. Across the street was the city wastewater, one of their facilities. And on a given day, when you come through this area, you will smell it. Okay, you will smell it. To your left here is East River. This used to be Kellogg, Brown and Root. As a kid, we all wanted to try to work for Kellogg, Brown and Root. Now the intent is to turn it into a river walk, like in San Antonio. They want to begin from Buffalo Bayou downtown all the way to the Port of Houston. Gentrified with hotels and all the above. As we go along here, I want you to pay attention to this fence line here, because there's a sign on this fence that warns you against going in and onto that property. And the reason why is because that sign is right there, and there's another one a little further up. That is contaminated. There used to be a boundary here. Okay, and up a little bit further, there was an elementary school here called Bruce Elementary. And that's the sign. You can slow it down. You can read it right there. They're contaminated, no trespassing. All of that is contaminated. Right up here a little bit further to your left used to be an elementary school. Bruce Elementary. They had to move Bruce as a result of the contamination. This used to be a vibrant, alive community with homes and all of the above. That is all gone now. And you can see the gentrification taking place over here now. And most of the residents in this gentrified area here does not know that the area right across the street from is contaminated. Most of them doesn't know. There were some residents that still live a little bit back farther, and if you pay close attention, you'll see wood frame houses of the residents that live here, and their property taxes is through the roof because now they have $300,000-$400,000 townhomes right next to them.
I want you guys to think about how and why they even settled in these places. Well, why would they settle where the railroads and the industry is? Well, they were needing jobs. Again, this was back in the 1920s, the 30s. We didn't get the car of, actually people having cars in a home until like the 1940s, the 1950s. The car was introduced in the 1930s. So people were needing jobs, and a lot of people were trying to move out of domestic work. They were trying to, they saw these industrial jobs as a way to secure housing and land. And at the time it did. These like we said, these areas are still full of pride, but back then they were very happy and just in another world to be able to own the land and the housing that they did, not knowing that they were just pretty much in cancer clusters. It would become illegal dumping, and that the country, the city would no longer care about their area, so much so that they would drive freeways through it to disband the community. Once the freeways came after the 1950s and 1960s, that's when we get black flight. Black people are now leaving these historical communities because they can, and they're not coming back. And that's when you get those people coming in, buying the property, jacking up the property taxes, and now it's a cycle. And so this tour is to make you aware, and so that we can put our brains together to figure out how can we just do better.
You see all the gentrification here to your right. That were homes here. This was a residential community. Now it's been gentrified. There were businesses up here. We're going to make a right at the light down there. But this was home. This was the community. I used to come over here. I had friends of mine that lived here and played. I played with in this community. To the left, you can see East River has bought. That will be hotels. That will be apartment complexes, townhomes, and all the above. As we make the right on Jensen here, as you see across the street or directly in front of you, there were homes there. There were homes all the way to the freeway there. And we're going to go by Bruce Elementary, which is the new Bruce Elementary. The one that we passed by where it used to be is no longer there. And because of the contamination, they moved Bruce Elementary here to this location, which is not much better because with the I-45 expansion, they're going to increase the air quality that's going to our elementary students, kids are going to have to breathe in because this interchange of I-10 and 59, and then they're going to bring 45 over to it as well. Everything on the freeways here flow to the Port of Houston. There used to be homes all along. To your left here, there were homes all along here. This is Bruce Elementary to your right.
Where was the original Bruce again?
The original Bruce was where we were over there by the contamination site.
Okay.
They rebuilt this one. One thing that I didn't mention, at Bruce, they used to have to bring water in to the students, to the kids that were there. They had to bring water in to cook in and to do everything at Bruce Elementary because it was all contaminated as a result of that. And this is in the 60s. That's a little bit more to that story than what exists, than what I'm sharing with you now, but it's horrible. As we prepare to cross over I-10, I kind of grew up in this area a little further down, and I-10 did not extend to where it does now. You heard mentioned earlier, I-10 used to stop at Lathrop. There. It did not extend into downtown when I was a kid. Well, you see I-10 flowing under here. We used to play football and baseball underneath here. This was our little park or playground all above. But what the freeway's done, I-10, 69, several others, 288, 45, is that they divided the communities. They separated communities. They were vibrant, they were alive, but when that division took place, it separated the communities, and a lot of black businesses were lost as a result of that. There were businesses and homes here. If you look straight ahead, the church to the left, there's actually two, Mount Vernon and there's a Catholic church next to it. I've forgotten the name of it. But in Mount Vernon, that's the church that Ms. Stevenson goes to, Ms. Joetta, and there's an air monitor, a clarity monitor in the parking lot to monitor the air quality, because Union Pacific Rail runs right here. But this used to be a community that was alive and vibrant. When we talk about the economic impact, the income inequality impact of it, the majority of it is a result of environmental issues. But on the pole back there, there is, and this is the oldest black church in Fifth Ward, Mount Vernon, right here.
Mount Vernon has always been in this area. So we're celebrating 160 years this year, and Fifth Ward is about 159. Oh, and one more thing. Barbara Jordan was the first black woman that was elected to the United States House of Representatives. And she and Mickey and George Foreman went, and just regular Fifth Ward people went beyond. So it doesn't matter how much money you have, it doesn't matter what type of family you came out of, because you could be like them and they'll know you not only across the country but across the world.
I knew Mickey. I knew Barbara. I told you, I'm 72. I went to school with George. Talk about George Foreman. I went to school with George. I tell the story all the time. George Foreman used to take my lunch money. Yeah, I didn't have no problem with it because he took everybody else's lunch money. You saw George, you just gave him your money. This used to be an elementary school here as well. We want to point out the impact of when we talk about resilience. being able to overcome disasters. We've gotten hit with Harvey, Rico, and several other natural disasters, not to include man-made disasters that we've had to overcome as a result of this. The man-made disasters talk about the freeway that has separated our communities. But we wanted to be able to share with you and show you the impact. Yes, there are drugs here. What you saw in Denver Harbor exists here as well. I mean, there's gang activity. That's all of the above that communities like Fifth Ward and others have to be willing to address and provide. But there are no job opportunities, there's no investment within the community itself, then the community itself begins to deteriorate. Its resiliency is worn down because there's no continuous impact. And most of all, it's communities themselves that are going to have to address.
Grace Clinic.
Oh yeah, Grace Clinic. Grace Clinic was provided here to do some testing and some medical services in the community as a result of UP's contamination. Okay, they got funding to do this as a result of that. So Dr. Letitia Palmer was one who was instrumental in trying to get this clinic here. I want you to pay attention to some of the homes as you see here. When Harvey hit, this was a river. You had to have a boat to come down here. You couldn't come down Liberty Road. If you look on some of the older houses here, you can see the water line that was 3-4 feet on the side of a house, in some cases 5, all along. Bruce Elementary School, I'm not Bruce, Dogan Elementary School here was flooded. Okay, and it sits on high ground. But Dogan was flooded as a result of Harvey, and that's supposed to be one of their little pools to drain, but it was flooded. This intersection here, that was about maybe 30, 40 cars along this intersection. We're gonna go over another one on Lockwood that's gonna give you a full view of the UP site. But we're gonna go along to it here and we can see how long, what type of impact that the creosote site or the making of creosote. And as I said, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 10 minutes, it's really enough time to tell the story. And you can look to your right as we kind of make this little turn here. You'll see a vacant, little vacant area over here. All of that, all the way back to the train line, and as we go further up, this is the creosote site. There were homes along the side. You can begin to see some gentrification to your left there, but they used to take logs and soak them in this solution, creosote, which contained poison and other toxins as a result of it. And that was always the smell in the air. And this whole area there, across the street, especially when Harvey hit, the contamination in the ground came up and it contaminated these homes, which it already had to begin with. So we're talking decades of contamination. I think UP was built here in the 1920s, I think it was, 1920, maybe earlier. And it was Southern Pacific at the time. It was called Southern Pacific at the time. And I think it was changed names, I think about 1980, I believe it was, in the 80s. But all of this whole land area that you see right in front of you, behind you, and up in front of you, that was the creosote plant itself. Trucks were in and out of there, taking up these telephone poles that you used to see with the black tar on them. Some of us on them, that's creosote that was on the tar. To your left here is Lavender Street, where this church was contaminated. All of this was contaminated as a result of the creosote fight and effort. And this fight has been going on for decades. There are 3 Superfund sites in Fifth Ward alone. We don't have a chance to go by them today, but there are 3 Superfund sites. Where we went to over there by our old previous Bruce Elementary is a toxic site. We're going to be headed towards Senegal. And as the overall objective of the tour itself was to try to bring communities together and allow them to see the same issues and problems that exist in their community also exist in our community or in your community as well. See that view to your right? That all of that was the creosote site. This is the yard, and this is the switching yard. As you go further to your east, it gets bigger and bigger. There used to be containers all over here on both sides. The trucks were coming in and out, and that's the purpose for the air monitors, to monitor the quality of air. Diesel, fuel, particulate matter, all of the above. To your left here, about a couple of streets over, we have another community air monitor place as well. And we do our best to monitor that. So that we use clarity monitors because those are the same monitors that the city and the county uses. So what we see, they see as well. Because in the past, we would tell them that there was this problem, that problem, and they wouldn't necessarily, well, we didn't necessarily know what we were reading, what we were seeing, and what have you, but now we do.
I'll go ahead and start a little history before we get to City Gas, just so that we'll have time to visually line things up. So City Gas was deemed by City of Houston as a Houston Hope neighborhood. It's 6 historical neighborhoods in Houston. In 2004, the city named them, and that was Acres Home, Clinton Park, and everything, and City Gas was one of them. City Gas was developed in 1892. 1892 by 2 German immigrants named William J. and Julia Sedigas. Hence, the name is Sedigas. They were interested in the properties and land back in 1872, but it took them 20 years to start purchasing land. So in 1940, it was developed as a planned community. The lots were plotted. City Gas was settled on by African Americans seeking land in the northeast side of town. 1940 is when they developed it as land plots, and African Americans started buying land. In 1949, the city of Houston annexed City Gas, and they began providing sewer trunks. So they didn't even have sewer lines until 1949, and the trunks were put in and they were up and running in 1965. In 1966, Houston Harris County Economic Opportunity Organization conducted a survey of City Gas termed the City Gas Report. 80% of the homeowners had problems with their deeds. And to this day, City Gas is still not deed restricted. We're going to try to remedy that. It's because there are so many deeds in City Gas that your next door neighbor may have a different deed than you, and the neighbor in back of you may have a different deed. So we have to group the deeds by properties so that we can try to get deed restrictions. So we have a challenge, but we're up for it. And when they were trying to get the deeds, they had hidden fees and multiple problems and finance charges. City Gas was deemed in 1966 to be a food desert. Fast forward to 2025, and what is City Gas still? A food desert. It's 133 years old, and it's still a food desert. So here's a little history. On January 17, 1967, an arsonist set the fire to the Houston Harris County Economic Opportunity Organization. And when they went in to investigate the fire, they found 2,000 completed, this is 1967, 2,000 completed voter registration forms that never turned up to the tax assessor. So it has been going on, so that's why it is very important to vote and make sure your vote is counted. We have voters registration verification at all of our events because we want people to assure that they're good to go. Okay, back in 2000, about 2,000 people protested at City Hall when there was a mayor called Mayor Welch. And the congressman at that time was Congressman Bush. So Welch and Bush mistakenly thought that the Houston Harris County Economic Opportunity Organization had done a lot of fall reporting. So out of spite and pettiness, they decided to hold that against City Gas. So hence, City Gas has still not recovered from that setback. In 1957, the only school in Settegast was B.C. Elmore. B.C. Elmore was a high school. It was made and formed for black students. The name came from the first principal, Benny Carl Elmore. In 1972, it became a middle school. Then in 1999, they demolished it and turned it over and made it a elementary that came into force in 2013. So since 2013, it is now called B.C. Elmore Elementary School. So when they leave B.C. Elmore Elementary, they have the choice to go to Forest Brook Middle School, which used to be a high school, or they can, and the high school, in the only high school in the area, is called North Forest High School on Mesa Road. It used to be Smiley. So fast forward to air monitors. We have one on the bus, Flores. Wave your hand, Juan. One is our community person, and we have Miss Callie Smith. Raise your hand, Miss Callie Smith. She's our community liaison. And because of them and their efforts and our relationships, we have 8 to 9 air monitors in Settegast. And that's a large number, not always enough, but the area environmental problems justified having 8 to 9 air monitors. And to move even further into that, we also have a TCEQ air monitor. It took a year and a half for it to come online in 2019 to 21, but it picks up the data, the PM2, which causes heart attacks, lungs, strokes, asthma, and things like that. And the numbers have been out of the chart ever since it came into fruition. So we have air monitors, which are great. They tell you the data, but the data is scary. We're about to come up on 610. Settegast started at the hump that we just went over the bridge, and that was Liberty Road. So Settegast south is Liberty Road, is East Houston, is west is Parkhurst, which is the Union Pacific Railroad, and is south is Lay Road. So that is the boundaries. So this is Rand, and our streets are narrow. I apologize in advance. The streets are very narrow. So there used to be homes on this street, and you're gonna see some existing homes where people weren't able to financially relocate. But look at the community. Industrial. And it's not even packaged, respectful industrial. We are here doing business, and so what? Look at the streets. Look at the disrepair of the streets and how they're messing with the infrastructure. So you're gonna see some homes of the people that were not able to move. So look what they're living next to, breathing, and seeing as their landscape and what's in their sightline. We're gonna pass by the Houston Habitat Settegast Community Garden. And B.C. Elmore is gonna be to your left. That's the campus that you saw, just some of the building. We're not gonna go down that street, it's very narrow, but it is to our left on Tate Street, and you're coming up on Tate. Right now, to your immediate left is the Settegast Houston Community Garden. And on some Saturdays, people come out and they're able to purchase some of the goods from the Settegast Community Garden. As you can observe, you see a couple of glow houses. Glow houses have a distinct characteristic, but the homes were damaged due to flooding, and the city of Houston and Texas Glow rebuilt some of those homes with glow houses. We will pass by Hobart Taylor Park, which is the only park in Settegast.
At Prairie View A&M University, our band building is named after Hobart Taylor. And Hobart Taylor was the first non-white person to direct the staff of a presidential commission. He died in 1981. He was born in 1920. So Hobart Taylor, dope history.
Okay, so now we're coming up on Hobart Taylor Park. We have a little nature park. I actually helped plant some trees in this little nature area on the other side. So this is Hobart Taylor. We were also able to have, with the Councilwoman Tasha Jackson, District B, we were able to get our park renovated to have this community play area. We also have a splash pad. We have a little workout area, and we have a swimming pool along with the community center. And with the conjunction of COCO, this year, May 17th, we had an event about water, soil, and trees. So we were able to help the community get educated about the data and what's going on. So this is Hobart Taylor Park and Community Center. They also are having an event today to teach people about disaster preparedness. Steady gas is land rich. What does that mean? That means that there are so many lots in Steady gas. That's BC Elmore down there that you can see. There are so many lots that people just come and, but that's a glow house. People just come and purchase the land. We are 8.4 miles from downtown Houston. 8.4 miles, 12 to 13 minute commute, unless you're in traffic. Here are the new homes because developers have gotten wind of Steady gas and they realize it is land rich. Look at all this land. All this land, and probably not in my lifetime, it may become homes or whatnot. But if we get those deed restrictions, we can take care of some of the vulnerability that Steady gas has. Kinder Institute did a study, and they determined that the life expectancy, as she said, is 66 years, and the life expectancy in other communities is 78 years. So we're cut 12 years short. Look at all this. Look, and sheet metal fencing. Just for another point, Super Neighborhood 4950, we drafted a letter to the mayor's office to try to outlaw sheet metal fencing, because sheet metal fencing, this is roofing material, does not comply with the ordinance. The typical City of Houston fence ordinance says fence ought to be constructed of typical fence material, i.e. wood. Now this is a nice home, nice land, and look what you have to live next to. But fence material is chain link, wood, and wrought iron. It is not sheet metal fencing, which is sold in the roofing department. This is Precinct 1, Rodney Ellis. Tasha Jackson's our council person. This is the old Lakewood Church where Osteen, the older Osteen, was the father. When the flood happened and when Burr happened, that's East Houston Civic Club. That was the only building that had power. So we were feeding people lunch and dinner, water, ice tops, and everything from that center because no one else had power, and their power came back on quicker. This is the old Lakewood Church. Now Docker Road is interesting. I think we have 2 air monitors on Docker Road because Docker Road is residential. These homes flooded. They received a lot of water, and you can see where some people have remodeled their properties. This is a tributary owned by Harris County Flood Control. It's dry on that side, but when it floods, this comes out. It crests. This is a hub house. This is Miss Callum Rivera's home. It is designated as a disaster hub house through West Street Recovery and NAC, Northeast Action Collective. So that's a hub house. They distribute batteries, fans, and heaters and stuff. This guy here is a developer. He's the one that helped build some of the gas stations in the community. And the black and white house to your right, that's the guy that built the 2 pit stops. That's a 10,000 something square foot. It's a beautiful home. There's an air monitor at this home right here. So as you can tell, the people properties exemplified that they care about their properties. These are residential homes. Steady gas is deemed residential. But as you see, look how it changes. Look to your left. Again, sheet metal fencing. These businesses are operating. One of the businesses is called Gold Star Metals. We did a press conference with Airlines. They fostered a press conference. We had the Harris Houston Health Department. There's a monitor at the house we just passed. That's Miss Hayes' house. She has a different type of monitor. This is Gold Star Metal. We went to City Hall October last year, and I was one of the people that spoke as well. And we discovered that Gold Star Metal is operating, has been operating, all of this, without an occupancy. The city of Houston has allowed this company to operate without an occupancy. They are a metal recycling company. People have gotten sick. Right there where those box containers, those shipyards, right in back of them is Sunbury Street. One of our neighbors is Miss Sade make the bus? Okay, Miss Sade's home is there. Her husband owned it first before they got married, and his parents died of cancer and everything, so it's very unhealthy. So,
Wait.
Gold Star Metals has been operating. We filed on them. They failed to show up in court. The judge issued a to-be warrant, and they're still operating with a warrant. Now look right here to your left. See that long, thin needle? That's right. That is our TCEQ air monitor. And we were glad to get it, but the data has been off the chart. So it has highlighted the fact that we are unhealthy, in unhealthy conditions. Okay, if you look down there to the corner, that's a senior complex. This is a multi-family community, low-income complex, and we just had a mural that we commissioned that was just finished on yesterday evening, but Reverend Caldwell said we're out of time. I was hoping you all could see the mural, but next time you're in this area, we welcome you back. You'll see a beautiful mural. It was voted on by the stakeholders and the residents in City Gas, and it exemplifies a tree, which is a hackberry tree, which is prevalent in the City Gas area, and it has deep, strong roots because City Gas has deep, strong roots. And we have a phoenix. The phoenix is there because as any community that's resilient and trying to be, City Gas, no matter what you throw at it, it always rises.
Let me make sure I spell that right.
And we're going to pass on Northway side. This is the main vein to City Gas and the super neighborhood through some funding from the Houston Economic Growth Collective Council. What they're trying to do is they know that these communities have been disregarded, disinvested, disrespected for quite some time. So through the surveys and the pilots and all of the efforts of the leaders and the residents, they decided to throw some money and give us the funding to do some resources. So for City Gas, the project that we have tried to embark upon is a City Gas Resiliency Hub. Because whenever a storm comes, people that are not mobile, they're not able to get to stores, get to power sources, and all of that. So we've identified a property on this boulevard to purchase, and we have solicited the assistance of Houston Habitat to help us to purchase the land so that we can build a small community resilience hub that has a self-contained ice maker, charging stations, and a little meeting room, a multi-purpose copy machine, because whenever there's a storm, people have to do packets. They have to submit claims. And people, we don't have a library, we don't have a post office anymore. The library was damaged, and all the Office Depots that was on 59 in Little York and the one on I-10, they closed down. So where can you go to make a copy? Nowhere. You have to go into another community or a multi-service center to make a copy. Something as simple as that. Thank you so much for visiting City Gas. We love City Gas.
Houston's founding does not exist without these black and brown communities working these industries.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're heading over to Galena Park. We're getting ready to exit right here off of Clinton. We are going to go by the communities of Pleasantville's out here to the right, the community of Pleasantville, and then when we exit, we're going to make a left and we're going to be right near the community of Clinton Park as well. So I'll give you more information as we go through there. But this community here has a very rich history. Rich history as in during the Battle of San Jacinto, the battle against Mexico versus the Texas. There's a lot of battles that happen in this area. There's a lot of history. People forget about that, but there's historical markers and a lot of stuff that happened in this area. This property used to be owned by a family called the Puke family, and it was the Puke Gerhardt family. As we exit right here, you're going to see a Shell station. Where the Shell station is at is the Shell station in Burger King. That used to be the Puke family house and the ranch that used to own all the property here back in the day. And there's an old cemetery that's right across from the Shell that people don't even know it's there, but that's a cemetery where the family was buried, would bury their loved ones when they passed away. But like most people don't know it's there, but it is. And in Galena Park right now, there is a street that's named after that family. It's called, Puke Street. So this family was very influential in this area. We're known for our pollution. I hate to say it. You guys know we're right on the Chip Channel. You're gonna notice as soon as we exit here, you start seeing how it gets more and more industrials. You see all the 18-wheelers parked over here on this side. There's a bunch of warehouses. The 18-wheeler traffic here is very, very, very active. If you come here during the weekdays, Monday through Friday, I mean, you're just constantly battling against the 18-wheelers up and down. So, but you can see here all the industrial areas, the cranes, and straight ahead is the Sidney Sherman Bridge. If you guys ever heard of Sidney Sherman, he was a general during the Battle of San Jacinto, and they blew up the bridge so the Mexican army couldn't cross over. He's the one that actually went and lit it up to make sure they didn't cross over. So this right here is the Shell station. They used to be the Puke family house was right here in this area. Make a left. Make a left. If you look over here to the left, you see that little patch of trees over here? That's the cemetery.
That right there?
Yeah, that little patch of trees is right there in that area. That's the old Puke family cemetery. You can't see it. The only way to get to it is you go up one more exit at the Fort Houston exit and go around, and you can access it through there. I've actually gone in there before and we cleaned it up a little bit. And like I said, there's a bunch of tombstones in the area of the family Gerhardt. But right here where the trees are at, that's a cemetery right there. Most people don't know that. Yeah. So as we're heading over, this community on the left is the community of Clinton Park. It's a primarily historical African American community, and it's changed a lot over the years. Kind of like demographics are changing, but that community has a rich history of they've been around for a long time. They've contributed to this area, and like I said, it's just an ever-changing area in this community here. Right here to the right, this is what they call the poster child of pollution. That's the community of Manchester. Manchester is pretty much ground zero to what pollution is. That is where the refineries hit the communities. That community is surrounded by that refinery, Valero. And when Hurricane Harvey came through, the mayor of Houston, Turner, was thinking about evacuating that community because the benzene levels were so high. They should have evacuated, but they did not do it. They should have, because it was really, really bad, and people couldn't get out. It was such a really bad situation to be in. And so right there on the right, you see the smokestack right there, the smoke coming out. That's Valero. Yeah. That's the Valero refinery. Right here to the left, you see this little patch of trailers. That is a TCEQ regulatory monitor that's located right there. The city of Houston also has air monitors in the area. They're there because they're trying to capture the pollution coming out of this refinery right here. You guys ever heard the term Stinkadena? Yeah. Because Pasadena stinks, okay? They always call it Cicadena, but I always tell people Pasadena doesn't have it that bad because Galena Park has it even worse because of the wind patterns. Because of the Gulf of Mexico, the wind's always blowing in from the southeast. That means everything flows from Pasadena, comes in this direction. And I always say Galena Park has it the worst because we get most of the pollution. 80% of the time throughout the year, the pollution is coming into Galena Park. So right now, this is the Fidelity Street. We're getting ready to enter the city of Galena Park. We have our own city. We have our own police department, our own fire department, and we're very proud of our city. We love it because we're surrounded by the city of Houston, but we have our own city. We know each other. We love being here. The crime is low. Everything is great. I love my city. I really do. Right here, we're officially crossed over Galena Park. This little covered area, that's the boundary between the city of Houston and the city of Galena Park. Right now, we're in Galena Park. This is Galena Manor. Galena Park was a very segregated city. This community right here is actually the old African American community, and this community is not connected at all to the city of Galena Park. There's no streets to connect it because it was very segregated. They had their own community atmosphere. Actually, if you go through there, you'll notice how the homes are very well taken care of. They have a very rich history and it's still there to this day. The demographics are changing now. A lot of the older people are passing away and their kids sell the property, so it's starting to change. A lot more Hispanics are moving into that area. But this is Galena Park. This company right here used to be called NOV, and this company has changed names over the years. Now it's called something else, but there's a lot of pollution here. Everything comes from the chip channel. The chip channel is right over there. You can kind of see those cranes over there. That's where the water's at. So we're very close to the chip channel. Studies have shown the closer you are to Clinton, this street right here we're on is Clinton Street, the closer you are to Clinton over to this side, the higher the pollution is, the higher the asthma rates, the higher the cancer rates. Everything is here, man. I love my city, but I hate to say that we are ground zero for a lot of pollution, a lot of things that we go through. Straight down here is United Gypsum Company. It's a fertilizer company. Back in the 1970s, that company blew up and it shattered all the windows. All the buildings in this area got shattered. It was a very bad situation. This is the City Hall of Galena Park. I used to be a city councilman here for a couple of years, and I got to serve there. And like I said, we're proud of our city. When the city was founded, it was known as Clinton, Texas. But when the city went to incorporate in 1928, they saw that there was already a Clinton, Texas, so they couldn't name it after Clinton. So they changed the name of the city. It became Galena Park because there was a refinery that had started back in 1928 called the Galena Single Company. So they took the name Galena and then added Park to it, and it became Galena Park. Right here, you see that air monitor up here? That's one of the Air Alliance air monitors. This is a friend of mine, Maricela, starting this business. We have 4 air monitors spread out, 4 big air monitors like that spread out around Galena Park. That one right there is a Sunset ramp that we're looking at right there. Sunset ramp. Yeah, that it's reading. It checks the ozone. It checks the PM. It checks the NO2. It does VOCs. It does all that. Now, there was a study that was done here in Galena Park back in 2012, and it has some of the highest benzene levels that there are anywhere in the city. That is a head start right there for kids from 0 to 4 years old, and some of the highest readings of benzene came from that area. And it's like I said, I bought a house here. This is my city and I love it, and I bought my house on purpose as far as I could over to the railroad tracks, because the farther away you are from Clinton, the better off you are. The closer you are towards Clinton, the worse the pollution is. You can walk around here at 2, 3 in the morning and you can just smell the chemicals, guys. It's, I've gotten so used to it. You live here for so long that you get used to the smell, and I get family members of mine that come visit from Mexico and they're like, "Don't you smell that?" I'm like, "Smell what?" And like, "It smells like chemicals." I'm like, "Man, I don't smell nothing." It's just, I'm so used to it, I work for Air Alliance, and so I work, like Vicky says, I work with her over in her community. I work in Channelview, Baytown. I work all up and down this area. So I work with a lot of communities, and it's interesting when I go talk to other community members and they share their stories, and I figure out we have so much in common. Because whenever it rains here, when it rains really hard, it smells really, really bad, and the companies do it on purpose, because when it's raining really, really, really hard, they let their chemicals go because they know the rain's going to knock down the chemicals. But it smells really bad, and I heard that in Baytown. I've heard it in Channelview, Deer Park. We all see that, and we all share that, and it's a situation I'm not proud of. But I'm saying, there's a lot of people in this area. Like I said, asthma is really high. Our life expectancy, just like Vicky said earlier, our life expectancy here is even lower here because of the chemicals that people breathe in all the time. The particulate matter, which is it's like particles that are in the air, are very high in Galena Park. That's the stuff you breathe in. It goes into your lungs, and it can cause a heart attack. It can cause strokes. All that stuff here is very, very high because of the chemicals we have here. A little more history about this city. We're proud of our city. There's a lot of history. You guys ever saw that movie, Urban Cowboy? Mickey Gilley used to live here in Galena Park. He used to live down the street over there on 14th Street where I live at. His kids would be playing with us back in the day. Roy Orbison's mom used to live here in Galena Park, and we used to see, people used to see Roy Orbison around here. Yeah. ZZ Top got their start in Galena Park. They played in 1977. They came to the high school here and they played for the senior prom. So we have a lot of historical music history here in Galena Park, and of course that tradition continues on. There's some Hispanic bands that are coming out of here now, so a lot of history here on that part of it. But you guys know there's no such thing as hills or mountains in Houston. So whenever you see a hill in Houston, it is man-made. There's no such thing as a natural hill. So you can see this hill right here in front of us. This is not natural, guys. This is a dredge site. This is this material here used to be at the bottom of the port of the chip channel.
Oh man.
They have to continue to dredge the chip channel because if not, this dirt will build up and then ships cannot go through. So they have to constantly dredge it. And when they dig this stuff up, they got to put it somewhere. So here it is. This is where they put it. You see this hill right here? This is dredge site. We're having a battle right now with the Army Corps of Engineers because we're trying to figure out how toxic these hills are. Because they claim that they check it before they dump it here, but I've asked the question, how do you check it? And they're like, well, we go into the water and we bring up samples and then we test them. I'm like, why test it in the water? Why don't you test it here? Supposedly, all this dirt used to be at the bottom of the chip channels. So over the years, there's different companies that have been out here and they just dump stuff into the chip channel and all this stuff settles to the bottom. And when they dig up this dirt, this is where they dump it, guys. It ends here, but it goes all the way to Pleasantville. We passed up Pleasantville earlier. This goes all the way over there. These dredge sites exist in different parts of the chip channel. Pleasantville has one. The Port of Houston community has one. There's one in Channelview. This hill, when I was a kid, it used to be a lot lower. You could actually see downtown Houston from here. It was a real cool view. But look how high this thing has gotten. You guys remember when it snowed here in January? Yeah. Oh man, we were going down this thing. We had our boxes and our little things. We were like skiing because like I said, there's no hills in Houston. I was calling this our Galena Park, the ski resort. I was broadcasting off the top of this thing, inviting people to come out here. That was one good thing. People that live in Galena Park, guys, we have a term. This road right here, we call it the high road. And we call it the high road because it's high. Now there's another street over there on the other side. We call it the low road. That's Holland because you're surrounded by the dredge site on both sides. So currently you're on the high road. Yes, ma'am.
Once they dredge it, okay, if it's in the ship channel, it belongs to the ship channel. But once they dredge it and put it here, who's responsible for it or who owns it?
So the property itself is owned by the Port of Houston, but the actual dirt that's being dumped on here is administered by the Army Corps of Engineers. So it's a combination. The port owns the property, but the Army Corps of Engineers, the federal government, is the one that administers this area. So you see the hills that are here. A couple of months ago, around January, this hill collapsed. There was a section of it that actually came down and it collapsed. People come up and walk on top of these things all the time, guys, because they don't know any better. Hey, look. When I was a kid, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, so we didn't have all this stuff. We stay indoors. I used to go play on top of these things, guys. And it's pretty cool. Okay, it was cool to me back then because we used to find quicksand in there.
Oh no!
We used to go into the quicksand and go all the way halfway up, and then we pull each other out, and then my next friend would go. Because right there in that area, that's where it collapsed. That hill collapsed. Everything came down. But luckily, what was inside didn't come out. But I'm currently grilling the Port of Houston. Asked for a request to ask what happened, why did it collapse? Because that's very dangerous. Back in the 1950s, that dredge site over in Pleasantville, it actually did collapse all the way. Everything came out of it. It flooded Pleasantville, and they went through it. So that's the fear that we have, that this thing could collapse one day, and it could really, really have a big impact in our community here. So we really worry about it. We're currently in the city of Jacinto City. Also, I call Jacinto City and Galena Park the Twin Cities because we're both cities. We border each other. During the 4th of July, the street we were just on, they closed it down, and we actually have a big fireworks display that happens right in the middle between Galena Park and Jacinto City, and we enjoy it because that's our tradition that we have. But this is Jacinto City. There are about 11,000 people, about 10,000 people live here in Jacinto City. They have it a little bit better here because they're a little further away from the chip channel. But we have some air monitors here spread out in Jacinto City as well. We're getting ready to pass up their city hall, and if you look on top of their city hall, you'll see like a little antenna sticking out. That's our air monitor. I actually climbed to the top of that thing. It wasn't easy to climb because there's a ladder you have to go through to the top, and then there's a hatch on the top. You got to pull the hatch up, and then you got to go all the way up there. And I'm actually proud to say I went all the way up there and put up the air monitor, and it's still there, and we're getting readings from it. So this is City Hall, JC right there. And if you look, there's like a little antenna right there. That's our air monitor, which is the one you saw earlier in Galena Park, but that's the one we have on top. Yeah, that's our air monitor that we have. And I got to climb to the top of that roof. It was fun. Guys, I hope you enjoyed our section of Galena Park, Jacinto City. There's a lot more history I could share with y'all, but I'll share it with you another day. And like I said, I used to go play in that thing, and there used to be rainbow colored water, which we thought it was really, really cool. We would go play in it. Of course, that was oil, there was gasoline that was in the thing, and I used to go play in that. And I will share, guys, a couple years ago I got diagnosed with MCUS, which is a precursor to multiple myeloma. So I don't have myeloma yet, but I'm being monitored because I have what could become that in a couple of years. And I really think it was all the stuff that I did when I was younger, when I used to go play in this stuff. I really think that what I'm dealing with now is the results of me going to play there. And I will say as well, you know, my daughter, who's 9 years old, she was born with cancer as well. She was born with a tumor. She had to go through chemo. She went through multiple surgeries. And I mean, I'm not saying this is what caused it, but I have my suspicions of what happens. And you know, what she dealt with and what I'm dealing with. And I have friends that are my age that we're in our 40s right now, heading towards 50, and I know a lot of my friends that are coming down with blood cancers. Blood cancers is a real thing. It's a very dangerous thing, and most people have it for years without knowing they have it. And I know it's prevalent in this area, and I know it's because of the pollution. And people ask me all the time, why don't you just move? I'm like, if I wanted to move, I could. I have the ability to do so. But like I say, I love my city. I love my people. You know, the city was here before the refineries got here, and we have our history and we love our city, and it's not as simple as let me just leave and move. But I want to make my city better and make it better for the future generations that are coming up behind us, so they can, you know, continue the battle. And I can tell you, my 9-year-old daughter has seen a lot from what I do, and everywhere we go, Dad, look, there's pollution. I'm like, I know, mija. I know it's bad, mija. And it seems like she's gonna come up a lot stronger than I am, and it's, like I said, passing the fight on to the next generation. But guys, thank y'all so much for hearing our story, and you guys ever want a more in-depth toxic tour of this area, let me know. I'm happy to do so.
One of the things that I found fascinating was that Clinton is technically as old, if not older, than Houston. When you look up the history of Galena Park / Clinton, you'll see that it was founded in the 1830s. Again, Houston was not officially founded until 1835 / 1836, and it wasn't until 100 years later that the name Galena Park was bestowed upon the community. So just imagine, like, people are just living in Clinton, calling it Clinton. My family been in Clinton, and 100 years later, now it's Galena Park. So yeah, and then when we're talking about Galena Manor, I wanted to mention their school, Fidelity High School. It was the segregated school for the African Americans within that community, and it shut down after they integrated, but still today, it shut down in 1970. Today, they still try to hold reunions just to keep the spirit alive of that area. I know someone, are you all familiar with the Shape Community Center?
Yes.
So there's a lady there named Miss Nia, and she, I believe she went there, and so she spoke before on how they try to keep those reunions alive.
Yes.
The Washburn Tunnel, it is the longest toll-free tunnel in the South, and it's the only underwater tunnel in Texas, and that's right here in Houston.
I hope you enjoyed the tour today. What was the most interesting or surprising thing that you learned on the tour today?
I'd say, of course, learning about the different communities and neighborhoods, but also learning about the lack of resources, the environmental injustices, dumping, things like that, that we typically would not know but for this opportunity to know about these contamination sites, toxic sites, and things like that. So we can get back out into to the community to advocate for our area, pass on to our loved ones and friends and family so that we can protect and maintain our communities and our cultures.
I got a question for you. I see you brought your daughter. So what would you want her to learn in order to preserve the future of these communities?
I would say she needs to know about the work that's going on in the communities that I would like for her to be a part of. We unfortunately lost a loved one at the age of 13 through, he had leukemia, and we stayed 1 block away from the creosote site. We actually passed by my house on the way over here. So just instilling in her what community work looks like, what goes into it, and how to continue to be a part of it to support the cause.
Thank you all so much for taking the time, the opportunity to partake, be a part of, discover, rediscover, make a new plan, come up with some new ideas, suggestions, and most of all, become engaged.
Yes.
Yes.
Become involved, because the only change that's going to happen is the change that you're willing to try to create or bring about. As you depart off the bus, we're going to share with you disaster buckets. So be prepared upon preparation of departure from the bus.
Hey, I am the Director of Constituent Services for the City of Houston in the Office of Councilmember Plummer. And we've got we had a really awesome day. We learned a lot. We have to appreciate our advocacy. Our individuals who go before us to do the work that represent us, those that are our voices. Many of them are on the bus today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for staying engaged. We invite you to give us a call, 311. Tell them what your problems are. High water bills, no water bill, no water, this, that, and the other. Whatever it is at the city, we'll try and help find a resource and a solution. So I appreciate the many people that we've engaged with in this space. You guys are on this bus today. We do what we do because of the city. You are the first line of defense, I should say, and we try to help bring it back in a spirit that's positive. So whereas the Office of Councilmember Letitia Plummer at Large 4 is proud to recognize, and I'll tell you who the people are, for consulting, for their outstanding dedication, their service, the leadership in advancing the well-being of the communities across Houston, and your unwavering commitment to building stronger, healthier, more resilient neighborhoods. And whereas through your tireless efforts, these individuals have gone over and beyond to meet the needs and address critical challenges, connecting families with vital resources, fostering opportunities that help children, youth, and adults to thrive, while standing as a trusted stakeholder within the broad community network. And whereas their work demonstrates a deep commitment to education, empowerment, advocacy, reflecting on the values of servant leadership. I said servant leadership, and you've done a great job in showing how individuals and your dedication can inspire communities to work together toward a brighter future. And whereas, in collaboration with the Coalition of Community Organizations, we lovingly say COCO, Reverend Caldwell, and your staff, alongside of fellow stakeholders and partner groups, you guys have helped expand to reach the impact of grassroots initiatives, strengthening networks of support, encouraging civil engagement, and proving that partnership rooted in compassion and purpose creates lasting transformative change. And that's what we're looking for. Some positive transformative change in the city of Houston. Therefore, be it resolved in council members' office, at the city of Houston, and the mayor's absence, the city commends and congratulates and celebrates your consultant for outstanding service, advocacy, collaborative spirit, and shaping stronger collaborative neighborhoods, empowering residents and uplifting Houston through your leadership and dedication. And on this, the 20th day of September in the year 2025, the city of Houston acknowledges, commends, and lauds praises upon you for your commitment and your support and your continued collaborative efforts. When you get your bucket, I'll give you your certificate. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, COCO. Thank you to our awesome driver. Yes. Woo! And we shall continue to work together.
I hope you all enjoyed the tour today. I hope you all learned a lot about these specific Houston communities and some of their challenges. I also hope that you acknowledge a lot of the strengths and the assets in these communities.
Everybody, I just want to say thank you for coming on this bus tour. Every time that I do some kind of toxic tour or anything, I always learn something new. And also one more time, give it up for Reverend and Coco and everybody. Thank you for doing this bus tour and the food and the muck buckets and everything. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Camille Murphy. I'm a resident of the City Gas neighborhood, and today I did a wonderful tour where we got to see 4 different neighborhoods. And being a new resident of City Gas, what I learned from this tour is just so many things. The fact that we don't have sidewalks, it's a food desert, some of the same complaints I have about the community, but more importantly, community engagement, learning about different things that impact the community, such as the environment, the illegal dumping, the fact that kids are walking in these communities and amongst the pollution, and what positive changes we can make in the community is my strong point and what brought me to do the tour today. I also learned as a landlord the importance of this because it can impact my residents of my community as well, so future tenants that I'm going to have. So that's what brought me out today to do the tour and what keeps me engaged with the community as well.